Good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 8, Managing Financial Resources. I'm your host for the evening. My name is Rick Hassey. Tonight, we're going to review briefly. I see all our postings are done for case number 3, so I'm going to go over those briefly. I'll be posting the solutions and grades tomorrow, Tuesday. But I want to go over a couple things with you as prep for my next topic of discussion this evening, which will be the electrics case. And then we'll talk briefly about mergers and acquisitions, IBOs, IPOs, LBOs, and bankruptcy. That'll all lead into your case number 4, which will be posted at the 7 o'clock hour tonight, which is due next Sunday, August 2nd. So after tonight, you have 2 major bits of work left. Case number 4 and the electrics case due Sunday, August 16th. So that will encompass our topics tonight and next week. Speaking of case number 3, this was a case where, as practice for the electrics case, you were asked to determine a capital budget analysis for a company and do a risk assessment of the scenario and sensitivity numbers of that company. Then you were asked 3 questions for the interpretation of what you learned or what you determined from your work in the spreadsheet. Tonight, I'll briefly go over the numbers, and I will post your grades tomorrow along with the solutions to Blackboard. This is the solution file I have on your screen. The grade is determined by 20% of your grade is by your Wac analysis, determining the cost of capital. 20% is the base case analysis, determining the four return on investment calculations. Then a scenario analysis of 15%, a sensitivity analysis of 15%, and then a interpretation of those questions that you were asked, 10% each for 30% of your case. Just so you know, this format is a typical corporate business finance interpretation and analysis of a project, where they determine their cost of money, they determine the possibility of making them profit, hopefully. They take a look at different risk alternatives, playing with the numbers at different scenarios, different outputs, changing some variables to see how that affects the bottom line, and then interpreting that for presentation to a board, to a committee, to a CEO, to a division head, whatever. This is a typical format in corporate finance. The Wac analysis of this company came with a weighted average cost of capital of around 5.95%. That WACC was determined by a 65% debt capital structure and a 35% equity capital structure. The interest rate on the debt was 6%, and the tax rate of the company was 22%, which gave an after-tax cost of debt of 4.68%. That 4.68% of debt cost related to the weighted 65% of the capital structure gives a weighted cost of debt of 3.04%. The capital asset pricing model to determine the cost of equity, what it would cost, what it's costing currently in the market related to the risk of this company. What's the risk of this company? The firm's beta of 1.2. The risk-free interest rate is 0.8%. The market premium rate is 6.25%. Putting those key variables into the market, into the analysis, our capital asset pricing model will give us a cost of equity of 8.30%. The equity weighted of 35% gives us a weighted average cost of equity of 2.91. Thus, we get a 5.95% cost of capital. That is the cost of capital, or the discount rate, to our capital budget analysis. Capital budget analysis is taking those variables given in the case with a variety of different variables, determining the likelihood of a profit in dollars, in interest, in a ratio, and in years. And this is a 5-year project with the various variables given in the case, determining that we'll have an NPV of around $107,000. Internal rate of return of about 11.64%, profitability index of 0.19, and a payback in 4.22 years. Not great profits, but for a short-term project like this, not bad. Then we take a look at the scenario analysis and the sensitivity analysis. This is taking a look at different alternatives given in the problem. This is page 3 of the case, and I ask you to determine what would happen to the NPV if a worst case scenario happened or a best case scenario happened. All right. Worst case scenario is if our planned output, which our planned output in this case is 50,000 units a year. If we have a 20% decrease in those units, what would happen to our NPV? And the probability of that occurring is 25%. If we have a 20% increase in sales, how that would affect profitability, and the weighted average of that is 20%. The likelihood that we'll come up with our base case analysis is 55%. Thus, we have a weighted scenario of positive $99,000. Then we take a look at the sensitivity analysis, taking a look at the percentages plus or minus 10, 20, and 30% of changing each one of these variables separately and how that affects our net present value. Notice the spread between selling price per unit is $3.5 million from high to low, roughly $3.1 million in variable costs, and a weighted average cost of $77,000. Putting that in a graph, you can see the slope of the lines, variable cost, selling price, and the WAC shows us that the sensitive variables in this case, according to these analysis, is the selling price per unit and naturally the variable cost. Variable cost is $30 a unit. $35 is the selling price. So there you go, hand in hand. The margins in this project are rather thin. That's why we don't have the great huge profits of this, but it could be determined that that's the industry they're in. That's one of your interpretations, is they could be an industry where their margins cannot be that large. Their contribution margin is only $5 a unit, the difference between selling price and variable cost. So taking all those into effect, how does that influence your rationale of, is the net present value analysis a fair assessment of this project? How does the capital budget risk analysis fit into the balanced scorecard method? And would you recommend approval of this project? Explain. Does the risk analysis affect your decision? I will take a look at your interpretations tomorrow when I review your data and how you took a look to this. And you'll see my interpretations in the solutions tomorrow. But these are the numbers. This is what it should look like. And this is a sample of an analysis that you will be doing in the electrics case. You'll be doing a base case. You'll be doing a scenario analysis. You'll be doing a sensitivity analysis. But in the case of electrics, you'll be doing it twice, 2 products. And then a couple of curveballs are thrown in, like the warranty. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So that's our case number 3. I will be grading these tomorrow and posting them. I want to get them back to you as soon as possible because this will help you in doing and beginning your work on the electrics case. We have a chat question. Okay, Joey, will do. Joey asks us how I came back and determined the WAC. I'm sure you're probably concentrating on the capital asset pricing model, 8.3%. some of you probably took the premium rate 6.25 and subtracted the interest risk-free rate and then multiplied that variance by the beta. But that you would do that only if this number was the market return rate. The market premium rate has already done that calculation. Really, the market rate in this problem is 7.05%. I have already subtracted that out and given it to you in that. Thus, you place it into the formula, multiplying 6.25 times 1.2 beta and adding that number to 0.8%, and you get 8.3%. Then I weight that to the capital structure. That was a little curveball I threw you there. I gave you the market premium rate already. I don't think any of you probably had too difficult time taking the 6% interest rate on the debt and taking out the tax to get the after-tax rate. So that's how I came up with 5.95%. And then I used that 5.9% to determine my discounted cash flow, thus determining my net present value, and thus determining my internal rate of return. The spread between my return and my cost is rather thin, less than 6%. In a lot of businesses, that would freak a lot of people out. They would like a larger spread. Well, again, one of the answers to that, or one of the interpretations, would be the industry that this company, maybe this is a retail company. Maybe this has a high amount of competition in their industry. Thus, the thin margins. The only way they can make money is increase or try to sell more. And in a tough economy, that could be difficult. Okay, so that's case number 3. Now, how does this equate? How does your work on this equate to the electrics case, where there's a little bit more analysis involved, a little bit more knuckleballs, a little bit more curveballs? Let's take a look at this. This case, the electrics case, is for you as the finance student to recommend to this company's CEO a choice, an alternative that they're planning on doing in the market, in their industry, creating a new product to compete in sustainability, compete in the changing tastes of consumers for a wide variety of reasons. Your job as the finance person is to crunch the numbers and interpret what the numbers tell you. The case centers around 2 products. Your job is to determine the return of those 2 products based on the information given to you. The 2 products are a controller inside an engine that determines the electric power of that engine. That controller is called CX13. Another product is another controller, a different type of brand, a different type of scenario, that's called MT78. Your job is to do an analysis of those 2 products based on the information given to you and recommend to the company based on the analysis, based on the risk, based on why the company is doing this. It's outlined in the case. What would you recommend? Would you recommend CTX13 as the alternative? Would you recommend MT78 as the alternative? Would you recommend both of them? And then the company could decide that. Or would you recommend them don't do anything? Both of them, excuse me, ladies, both of them suck. I'm not recommending any of them. There's your choices. Your job in this case as a finance student is to do the number crunching and interpret what the numbers tell you. Just like you did on a smaller scale in case number 3. You determine all the numbers. And what's the timeline, or what's the steps? Well, the first step is to determine the company's cost of capital. You can't do anything else unless you determine what's their money cost. And that information is given to you in Exhibit 4. What does it cost them? The second thing to do is determine the warranty variable cost per unit. You got to figure that before you even start putting together the spreadsheet, because that's something, all the other costs are given to you. In Exhibit 1, all the other costs are given to you. Labor, parts, SG&A, the price of the controller. Those are all given, but one key part that separates the two products is not given, and you have to calculate it. The warranty on the motor and the controller. You have to determine that before you can go any farther. Once you determine that warranty cost, then you can put together the net cash flow analysis. Determine the revenue. Determine the expenses. Determine the depreciation. Determine the profit, net income. Determine the working capital, cash. Add back the depreciation. If there's a salvage value, determine the salvage value over the life of this project. Also incorporated in that is the inflation rate. What variables do you apply the inflation rate to? The next step, determine the return analysis. NPV, internal rate of return, profitability index, payback in years, just like you did in case number 3. But now we go to the next step, and that's the return analysis, or excuse me, the risk analysis. The risk analysis is, what is the various scenarios, and what, if they're weighted, what does that mean? And the sensitivity variables. There's 2 in this case. The sensitivity variables. And do the sensitivity analysis for those 2 variables. Because there's only 2 variables, that does not mean your work is lessened, because like in case 3, we had 3 variables. Read what one of those variables is. There's a little bit more work in coming up with that number there. There's a little hint. Once that risk analysis done, you have now completed the number crunching. And now you can do the interpretation, the paper, by answering those questions on page 4. 9 questions. I would rather you not have your paper in APA format with a title page, an abstract. Table of contents would be professional, and your paper. But I would not write your paper, just go, question number 1 is, question number 2 is, question number 3 is. No. Remember, you're writing a recommendation to the CEO of Electrics. His name is William Livingston. If you're going to go question by question, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then your paper should be like in a memorandum format to Mr. Livingston. Mr. Livingston, here's my conclusion. That's your abstract. And now here is my interpretation in memo form. If you decide to not do a memo form, you could do a paper summarizing all those 9 questions through the flow of your answers throughout the paper. You could answer the questions by just writing about what you found out in the format or in the flow of those questions. Either way is fine by me. But you have to find a way of interpreting those 9 questions and giving that information to Mr. Livingston. And I guess you could say, I'm Mr. Livingston. Then when you're all done with that, any references, and you're done. Remember, if Efron goes to Jessica and says, Jessica, what did you get for WAC? And Jessica says, I got, and Efron says, hey, that's not what I got. How did you do it? And if Efron takes that information from Jessica and applies it to his work, I don't have a problem with that. I will have a problem though if I don't see a reference in Efron's paper saying, I had Jessica help me in answering the WAC. I don't care if you go to Stephen Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury, and say, hey, Steve, when you ran Goldman Sachs, how did you do capital analysis? And Steve gives you the answers. I don't care if you did that, but you got to put that as a reference and a source of your paper. If you don't, you're in trouble. And at this level of MBA study, that's a flag. That's an F. That could affect your course grade. Also, a note would be sent to the dean of the college expressing my concern over your academic credibility. I know that sounds a little harsh, but you are responsible for the quality and the professionalism at this level of your work. All right, that's enough of that nonsense. That's my political dialogue for the evening. Alexandra asked me, will you pre-review the base analysis count as a reference? Yes. If you send me, hey, Mr. Hassey, here's my base case analysis. Could you look it over and see if I'm on the right track? I have no problem with that. Yes, Efron. I'm picking on Efron because I can see him. Yes, Efron, what are you eating tonight? What's for dinner?
Soup.
Soup?
Quick and easy.
It's 100 friggin' degrees out. You're eating soup? All right, yeah. Whatever. I guess soup's okay. All right, if Efron sends to me his base analysis, like let's say next week, hey, Mr. Hassey, I'm getting ready to do the risk analysis, but I want to make sure I'm doing this right in my base case. Could you look it over and see if it's okay? And he sends it to me, he emails it to me, and I look it over and I say, Efron, you got to take a look at your WAC analysis. It's a little off. Everything else looks fine. Or if Efron's work is excellent and I say, Efron, it looks cool, proceed. You have to put in your references that Professor Hassey reviewed my work. Yes. And that's not bad. That's not wrong. You're not going to get marked out for that. But guess what, guys? I keep track of this stuff. And if Efron comes in to ask me for that, and then I read his paper and it's not there, Efron would get 10 points deducted from his grade. So remember that. Okay? It makes sense. Another chat question. Oh, you're welcome, Alex. Good question. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But it has to be included in your reference. And here's the reason why. First of all, that's a rule of mine. But secondly, remember I said a few weeks ago, this is an assessment case. We send all your work to our accreditation committee in the College of Business and Public Management. Other professors will be reviewing your work as to the quality of the work in regards to the assessment for accreditation, since this is an accredited course assessment. It makes your credibility and my credibility look good if you put in your paper, oh yeah, I asked professor for this. There's no, that's one of the rules, and they'll say good. Because here's another reason why, sports fans. I will also send the accreditation committee my notes of who asked for help and review. I have to do that. Okay. So I just want you to understand my interpretation of that so you fully understand that. Trust me, in the past, some students have forgot about that, and they did A work and they ended up getting an A- just because of that. So remember, that can be a stickler. So your job in the next 2 weeks, I know you're going to be a little bit involved with case 4 this week, but it shouldn't take too long, is begin to put this together. Another question. Case study number 3 makes no difference, Jessica. Don't worry about that. I don't care about that, Jessica. Don't worry about that. I would have told you in advance, so don't worry. Cheater. That's a joke. That's a joke. Okay. Now, oh, God, you guys are firing me questions tonight. Oh, thank you. That's right. All right. Now, the last thing you should know about this electrics case is I will be having a review session. Oh. On Saturday, August 8th at 10 a.m. in the morning. Yes, Peter Murray, 10 in the morning. Get up, get out of bed, have a good breakfast. Don't lie around all day Saturday like I know you usually do, Peter. I don't know. I'm saying Saturday, August 8th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This will be a Zoom session. I will record it and make it available in Blackboard and YouTube. So you don't have to come if you don't want to. But if you have a specific question, you might want to email me in advance if you're not going to be there on Saturday and ask me the question so I can answer it during the session and you can see the playback of the recording. 10 to 11:30, Saturday, August 8th. So hopefully by that time, you've had at least all your analysis done. And then if you have any glaring questions, you can ask me then. And also if you have any questions about the paper or anything like that, I'm going to be somewhat vague, but I'll do the best I can in answering your questions and concerns. Saturday, August 8th, 10 a.m. in the morning for an hour and a half, a Zoom Electrics Incorporated. We won't have anything else to talk about. Case 4 would already be done and posted. This is your last work. We would have that session for that work alone. I will record it and make it available if you cannot attend. And I know some of you work on Saturdays. That's the best time I could do. I'm not doing a review session on Sunday. That's ridiculous. This is not live or let die stuff here. We'll do it on Saturday or not do it at all. Remember, your case paper is due the next Sunday, a week from then. Now, one last issue before I move on in our topic this evening. Remember, we discussed this a week ago. Warranty cost. The big mystery of this case. How you interpret it, how you handle that will make or break whether you get an A or something lower. Trust me. Because if you just look at the numbers in the case, look at the numbers you're crunching. Go to Exhibit 1. All the numbers are the same for the two products except the price of the controller and installation and the warranty. Everything else is the same. So your main analysis is breaking that down to making sure you do it correctly so you can see the difference in the two products. We have 2 more chats. Peter Murray, you get up at 5 a.m.? You sick son of a gun. What the hell are you doing up at that time? Wendy Lester, I was waiting for Wendy to spark a question. Will the Saturday review be the same Zoom link as the weekly class? No, it'll be a separate link. I will send it to you next week. Good question, Wendy. For once, I'm a little ornery tonight. I apologize. So yes, it'll be a separate link. So you'll have to pay attention with that link, because if you go to any other links associated with this course, you're out of luck. So and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm keeping this separate with a separate recording and blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Wendy. Now, where was I? Wendy, where was I? Oh, warranty. All right. Warranty. So as I just said, the difference between the two products is in the controller. CTX 13 has a price of $1,280. MT78 has a price of $1,260. Because this is obvious, if any of you are in manufacturing or engineering, the CTX 13 is more expensive. That must mean it has a better efficiency and less likely to fail. Thus, it has a cheaper warranty of $90 compared to the warranty of the MT78, which is a cheaper model, thus meaning it might be less efficient. Thus, it has a higher warranty of $100 a unit. Oh, that makes sense. I just gave a big hint to some of your interpretation of this product. I got to shut up. So you have to determine the warranty, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The warranty is spread out over 5 years for every product produced. How long is this project? 8 years. 8 years, we're producing 50,000 units a year in the base case. Excuse me, 40,500 units, excuse me. 40,500 units a year for 8 years. Every one of those units, years 1 through 8, has a 5-year warranty. We have another question. Let me guess. Peter Murray. I was right. Right on. See, I know you guys. Peter says, no, keep talking. No need to shut up. You're telling me to shut up, Peter, because you get up at 5 a.m.? What gives you the right? All right. Thank you, Peter. So Peter's all enthused because he was emailing me all this past week. Warranty, warranty. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. Warranty's driving me crazy. All right. Well, I'm not going to tell you too much more than this, guys. Every motor has a warranty. Well, how do you get 5 years of costs into the year that that product is being produced? Either year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do I get those 5 years of cost into one variable cost warranty? I use the present value. I take the present value of those 5 years and incorporate it in that analysis for every unit. Your variable cost for warranty is going to be the same per unit every year. Every year with the same warranty. Your job is to determine that variable cost. And that's why present value is you have a series of monies into the future. What is its value of those monies today? Present value. And lump them both together. The warranty for CTX13 is $165 a unit for 5 years. The warranty for MT78 is $175 a unit for 5 years. That's $175 year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. What's the present value of that? I'm leaving out a couple of key ingredients here, but that's for you to figure out. Jessica didn't like that one. Come on, Mr. Hasse, why don't you just tell me? What's the big deal? The big deal is who can figure it out gets the A. Yes. So there you go, Peter. Warranty. Pitter patter, get at her. Now, you know you did it right when, if you send me your base analysis, I will see your warranty calculation, hopefully on a separate line. You'll probably have a line, just call it warranty variable costs. Keep it separate so I can see it, so I know you did it right. It should be the same amount years 1 through 8. Now I know Mr. Robles is thinking, now how can that be the same amount? Isn't there inflation involved there? But remember, Jessica's going to like this one. Remember, when you calculate the net present value, you can incorporate it there. I'm talking way too much on this. This is ridiculous. Okay, guys, you got it all. Another chat. Let me guess. Yes. No, Peter, I am done. You have all I'm going to give. You are the man. It's time for you to do it. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea, you guys, if some of you are friends in this class or colleagues, to have a study session. Hey, anybody want, get on your text messaging and use what do they call those chat sessions they have now? Hey, anybody want to sit down and figure this out? Everybody who participates, no problem. But I want to know who did that as references in your paper. But you will find out whether you did it right or wrong when you give me your base case analysis. I will see. The first number I look at is the warranty. How did they do this? Because as I said earlier, the warranty is the main determination of which product, the variance between the two products. Warranty and the cost of installation for the controller. Those are the two differences. Everything else is the same. I'm going to save this and post it to Blackboard. Thank you, Mr. H. I appreciate that. All right. Let's open it up. Anybody have a couple of quick questions in this regard? Any questions about this discussion, the review session, the warranty? Anybody have any questions now, tonight, in this regard? Go. It's all quiet. That means two things. People don't care. Or two, you guys got this. You got it. So we'll see. All right, no questions. Okay, but I take questions at any time. We have a review session Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 5. Which Peter is always there. It'd be a nice gesture. This Wednesday, Peter will send me a nice little gift as a thanks for always being there on Wednesday for him, but he doesn't have to do that. And you can send me questions during the course of the week. And we have our review session a week from Saturday, August 8th. Okay, well, let's move on. And I will post this to Blackboard. And again, your solutions, if you maybe did something wrong in your case number 3, you learn from that error when you take a look at the solutions and my grading on making sure you know how to do this analysis carefully. And that's a big deal too. And again, let's bring that up one more time. I'm going to give you one more electrics hint because I'm a nice guy. So in the electrics case, the format of your template, the only difference will be this will go 8 years instead of 5. You're going to have a variable cost and a fixed cost, which fixed cost is SG&A, variable cost, but you're going to have to create a second line of variable costs and call it variable cost warranty. Variable cost parts and labor. Variable cost controller installation. Variable cost, those are your variable costs, but then have another line where I can see your variable cost per unit for warranty. Also remember, you have to determine depreciation a little differently. It's the MACRS method. I kind of let that one go. Your depreciation schedule is going to be not straight line. It's going to be a little bit different. So make sure you're aware of that in putting this together. Okay. Our topic for tonight is alternative capital strategies. Many companies have what is called a circle of life, just like you and I. You're born, you have no clue what's going on. You get educated, you mature, you become self-educated, or you can now function in society, function in the workforce. You make your maximizing your return, your salaries. Then you start slowing down. You get to retirement, where you're no longer working, but you're still a viable member of the community. You have family, you help the community, you're just doing it differently. Your value is being different because you're older. And then you die. Geez, that's depressing. But that's your circle of life. Well, it's the exact same thing for corporations. Facebook started out in Mark Zuckerberg's dorm at Harvard. Apple Computer started out in a garage in Palo Alto, California. Ford Motor Company started in a farm in Dearborn, Michigan. General Electric started in a lab run by Thomas Edison in New Jersey. Am I impressing you with this? I got one more. Do I have one more? I got one more. AT&T started in a lab outside the city of New York in Long Island. They all started very simply. And what did they create? Ideas. Something new. Telephones. Electricity. Automobiles. Talking on the internet. Geez, I wish they didn't invent that, to be perfectly honest with you. And all these things were new ideas. Well, new ideas need capital so those ideas can get to market. Well, Facebook, Ford, Apple, how did they get to market originally with their ideas? They took in venture capital, private money. Because why? Nobody knew about them. Outside of Palo Alto and Dearborn, Michigan and New Jersey and Long Island, who? What? Thomas Edison? Who are you? Henry Ford? What? Steve Jobs? What? Who? Get out of here. I don't want you. I'm not giving you my money. So they go to individuals like Mark Cuban, LeBron James, people who have capital and want to invest their private monies into what they think is good ideas because they trust the people with these ideas. That's private equity. But then when these ideas, like an automobile, a computer, electricity, internet connections, people say, I want more. And I want to be in I want to be in Britain and have these services, not just the United States. I want to be in South America and have these services. Then it takes major, major capital that the private equities and the Shark Tank boys and girls don't have. You got to go public, meaning the market will now own your company. I hope you're able to take a look at a couple of those videos, one in my introduction video for today and one the videos in YouTube. Very simple and basic what this means. You determine the value of your company in the market, and the ownership or the management of the company says, okay, I'll put up 50% of my company and I'm going to keep 50%. In the case of Facebook, it was 51.5%. Mark Zuckerberg said, okay, our company is worth $2 billion. I'm going to keep 51.5% of that. 49.5% we're going to sell to the market. That's exactly what they did. Ford Motor Company, when they went public, they were a private company until the 1940s. After World War II, they knew that now they could expand their Ford products to all over the world. Everybody needs a car. We're rebuilding the world after the war. So Ford, to do that, had to go public. And they issued 49.5% of the stock to the public. 50.5% stayed in the Ford family. And today, to this day, 50.5% after all these years is owned by the Ford Foundation, which represents the family of Ford Motor Company. So if any of you are going to start a business one of these days and you become successful, you're going to need more capital to grow your business to other parts of the world. That's when you go public. But you don't want to give all the control away if you don't have to. You want to keep ownership to a point. Because then if you really get successful, then you can cash out and become Warren Buffett and become Bill Gates. And now you can give all your money away to your own foundation. And that's what Warren Buffett and Bill Gates do, because they sold out their shares and now are billionaires. That's how it works. What are the advantages of going public? You diversify your ownership. You have different people own your company. It's a good selling point. You know, for many years, people think, well, one guy owns this company. What does he know? I mean, does he look out for his workers? Does he look out for the community? What's going on here? By having stockholders, you diversify and have all different types of representative groups own your company and all have a say in the running of your company through the board of directors. Liquidity is increased. As an owner, I now can sell anytime I want and cash out. If it's one owner and you're looking to cash out, you're looking for when your company is at its greatest value. Many times that ain't happening. Just ask Michael Dell of Dell Computers about that one. And when you're a public company, all your financial records are public, and it's easier to raise capital when everybody can look underneath your underneath your hood and see how your business is running. Oh, this is what they make. This is how they do it. Oh, okay. I want to get a piece of this. I want to be a stockholder. Thus, it's easier to raise the money. And also, it sets a price on the value of the company in the market. What do you think this is worth? Wow. I mean, one of the biggest jokes I ever saw in my life is about 6 years ago, Instagram wanted to go public. And they said Instagram, which is a stupid at the time, I thought, I now use it, a stupid at the time app where you can post dumb pictures. It's like Facebook with pictures. I go, and they've valued the company at $5 billion. I go, what are these people smoking? Apple bought the company for $10 billion. Not Apple, Facebook bought the company for $10 billion. It was even worth more. Good Lord Almighty. It establishes your value in the market. A lot of people think now that the market is overvalued. We're up for another bubble. Could be right. One of the key indicators of that, here's a little investment tip for you tonight. Chalk this down as being a member of this class. Gold has been going up and hitting the highest value every day for the last 2 weeks. Gold is going up. That tells you certain people, wealthy individuals in the market, in the world, think that the stock market is overvalued and is due for a major adjustment. So I'm going to start putting my dough in gold. People are pulling their money out and buying gold. Thus, gold set a new high price again today. That tells you that something smells on the horizon. Trust me. Might not be for a couple of months. My guess is either before the election or right after. So hang on to your seats. This doesn't usually happen. If gold keeps going up like it's been doing the last couple of weeks, some people think disaster is on the horizon. We have companies that are losing money. We have millions of Americans out of work, and many this next week to be evicted out of their rentals. This high stock volume, this high stock prices in the market can't hold on forever. There's too much risk in the economy. And that's what's going on in the gold market. Thank you very much. You'd have to pay somebody $1,700 to get that advice. Here, by being a member of the Haas financial team, you get it for free. Trust me, watch out in the market. You got all your money tied up in a 401k? Maybe it's time to redistribute some of those holdings. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. As I was saying, going public gives you credibility in the market. That's why a lot of companies, Facebook, Apple, after they start getting their ideas well known, they go public. Also, customers, Apple Computer, I never heard of it. All of a sudden they become a hot stock. Apple Computer, I guess I better get, what are they doing? What products are they making that everybody's all up in arms about? I better pay attention to that. It establishes recognition. But there's the dark side to going public for a lot of companies, for a lot of managers. Going public means you have to file monthly and quarterly financial reports. You got to be able to look under your hood and show it to everybody. That guy makes that much money a year as running this company. They spend that much money on expenses. They own that much of the market share. What? Amazon's finding that out right now. Amazon didn't make a profit for 9.5 years. Now in the last 5-6 years, they own the world. Now everybody's looking under their hood. What's going on there? How much is Jeff Bezos getting paid? What? Now everybody knows what's going on. Can be a pain in the neck. You have to disclose it. And because of those disclosures, you got to hire a lot of people to keep track of this stuff. And also, going public entices insider trading. Ask Martha Stewart about that. Oh. Ask Enron about that. I can't remember the name of the guy there. I'm sorry. But insider trading. The wealth of the company being public will entice people to take shortcuts and give out secrets. Trouble. That's why we have regulations. Also, you got to deal with your investors. You got to meet with them every quarter. You got to listen to their complaints. And investors who have a lot of shares or a piece of your company can be a real pain in the neck. You got to deal with them. That's a hassle in itself. So the advantages and disadvantages of going public. For some companies, it's perfect. For other companies, it's a friggin' disaster. And then they go private again. They go, this is not for us. We're going private again. But it depends. It depends on the industry, depends on the management, it depends on the market. So be familiar with this. I'm going to ask you a question on this in case number 4. I want your interpretation of it. But that's why companies go public. It's part of their circle of life. Because with that capital of going public, they now can maximize the value of their ideas, of their products, of their market, and turn it into huge value. Amazon.com. Microsoft. Right now, it's Microsoft and Amazon. They go back and forth one week to the next of who has the highest market cap in all stock. Microsoft one week, Amazon the next week, blah, 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 blah. Why? Because they are now operating their businesses at maximum efficiency in the market. Amazon controls the market. Microsoft controls the market. What do they control? They used to control Office applications. Now they control the cloud. That turns into big money. Amazon owns the other part of the cloud, plus they control the retail market. If Amazon lowers the price of a HP computer on their site, it forces HP to lower their prices on their site. They own company. It forces Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club to lower their prices because why? Everybody will go to Amazon and get it delivered to their house. Why should I go to Best Buy and Costco and buy the product when I can get it cheaper plus delivered to my front door through Amazon? Ooh. Microsoft and Amazon are controlling the world. And I hate to say this, but I gotta. This goes against all my financial sense. Is there's a company out there now that's beginning to make a profit just like Amazon did after many years of failing. Tesla. They have ideas for the future where a lot of American automobile companies not. Plus, Tesla is in space, which doesn't make much money, but it's cool. And people say, yeah, Tesla, wow. They're sending up rockets to Mars and creating cars that don't pollute. Well, they kind of pollute. They kind of pollute because the chips and the microchips and the computerization of those cars are very, very high pollutant parts. But we'll let that go for now. So that's why you go public, so you can achieve value. That's chapter 18. Let's take a break. It's 7:05. When we come back from break, We'll have a little poll of our class tonight. And then we'll talk about mergers and acquisitions and a little bit about bankruptcy to get you ready for case number 4 this next week. I'll see you back here at a little bit after 7:15. Adios. Okay, we have a poll this evening. Who has the strategic power in a corporation? Boy, is this a loaded question. Who has the strategic power in a corporation? Is it marketing, manufacturing, human resources, finance, distribution, sales, shareholders? Who has the strategic power in a corporation? Notice I didn't say board, I said shareholders. You have a minute and a half. Remember, you don't have to do this. This is just a fun thing. Okay. Looks like a majority of you, 48%, said shareholders. Marketing, HR, finance, must be an HR person, finance, and distribution. Well, you know, there's no correct answer to this. And here's the reason why. Every company has their own strategic power base based on the market and the industry they're in, based on the culture and the history of the company. For example, General Electric has a history of having finance people run the show, whereas most automobile companies are run by marketing or salespeople. So it depends on the industry. And shareholders for some companies do have strategic power, but very limited. Here's why. Shareholders, there's hundreds of thousands of shareholders in companies. To get them all on the same page can be rather difficult. It takes an aggressive board of directors representing the shareholders to wield the strategic power. You really, that's in many cases in corporations, the big battle is between the management team and the shareholders or the board representing the shareholders. Again, it depends on the company. Most automobile companies are run by marketing or salespeople. Lee Iacocca, people like that. You guys probably don't even know who Lee Iacocca is. That's a name from the past. So that's a good question. It's not, there's not one specific answer. It depends on a lot of things. So our poll is indicating that strategic power, strategic decisions can come from a variety of sources, a variety of different areas of the company. I'll take a picture of this and post it to the site. Okay, good question. Got us thinking a little bit. Okay. Peter, you really get up at 5 a.m.? Seriously? Wow. I got up at 4:15 a.m. today because I went and played golf. Wow. But I don't do that every day. If I did that every day, I'd be dead. All right. Now let's go to something new. We were talking earlier about the circle of life of companies. And the circle of life where companies go through different scenarios. Startup, going public, maximum value. But then their business models begin to get a little old. One of the things you got to admire about companies like General Electric, Microsoft to a point, and companies that have been around for a long time, JP Morgan Chase, is they attract capital because they change in management and in style with the economy, with the competition, with the market. They change. And many companies can't do that. And the force of change is for many companies to merge or be acquired or acquire new markets or new industries. Mergers, acquisitions. Many companies get to the point where everything gets to be a little stale. They're losing their customer base. So they got to get new blood, new management blood, new capital blood. And the only way to do that is to either fire everybody and bring in new management or merge or acquire new markets and new management. It's called synergy. Mergers and acquisitions of companies are to create operating, financial, management, and tax benefits by merging or acquiring with another company. You become more efficient, thus you create more value. You find different ways in the tax law. Many times companies merge just for the tax benefits. It's amazing. It's called synergy. Putting together new strategies to create a more vibrant company. Also, another reason why companies merge or acquire is to eventually and rather quickly break it up. Shed off divisions and get huge profits. Shed off industries. It's called breakup value. Some of the main reasons to merge, and a lot of people question it, is to diversify the company. Sometimes diversification is not a good thing. Because why? Diversification requires management to understand what the business is all about, and sometimes they acquire companies that they don't even know what the hell they're doing. And many times companies merge as what is called in the market a poison pill. Makes it difficult for them to be purchased, bought out. Sometimes companies merge because they're afraid of being taken over, so by merging they become bigger, thus too expensive to be bought out. That's a reasonable alternative. It's called a poison pill. You can have friendly mergers. You can have hostile mergers. What's a hostile merger? Here's an example. I'm going to date myself here on this one. Back when I first started with computers in the early 80s, there were no Excel spreadsheets. There were no Google Docs. There were no Apple numbers. There was one spreadsheet called VisiCalc. Boy, I might date myself that one. VisiCalc was based out of Boston, Massachusetts. It was the first spreadsheet. Well, when Bill Gates and Paul Allen were developing Microsoft, they made their original money by developing an operating system called DOS. It enabled applications to talk to a computer. And they basically sold DOS to IBM to put in all their machines. And that's how Microsoft became a viable major company. But the computer technology was changing in the mid-80s. Apple Computer was developing a whole different operating system. So Mr. Allen and Mr. Gates decided we got to change our business model a little bit by going now into the application industry and not so much into the hardware industry. So they went out and decided to go out and buy the technology. And the first one they went after was in Boston, Massachusetts. Paul Allen and Bill Gates went to VisiCalc and said, hey dudes, we like your spreadsheet. We'd like to incorporate that in the Microsoft umbrella. How about we give you $10 million for it? VisiCalc told them to go to hell. They came back the next day. $20 million, VisiCalc. What do you think? Go to hell. Boy, this is in 1980s, remember. $20 million was a lot of money. Paul Allen and Bill Gates came back the next day and said, okay, guys, $30 million. We'll buy up your company. They said, go to hell. So the very next day in the Wall Street Journal, Bill Gates and Paul Allen took out a full-page article informing the world and the shareholders of VisiCalc that they just offered $30 million to buy their company that was currently having a market value of $7 million. 30 million versus a current market value of 7 million. The shareholders went, what? They beat down the door of VisiCalc saying, dudes, you are going to sell to Microsoft. We're going to cash out our shares and make a ton of money thanks to Paul Allen and Bill Gates. That's a hostile takeover. They bought out the loyalty of the shareholders. And the very first day after the deal was closed, Microsoft fired all the management team of VisiCalc. Fired every one of them. And VisiCalc now became Microsoft Excel. You know what happened after that. Microsoft went and bought a word processing product, Word, a database management system called Access, an email system called Outlook. They now packaged those into Microsoft Office, and that became the cash cow for Microsoft for 15 years. No longer disk operating system, it was now Microsoft Office. And they bought each one of those technologies by a hostile takeover of the companies that invented them. There you go. That's what made Apple, why they give me, that's what made Microsoft today. So that's how that works. That's a hostile takeover, hostile merger. Reason why mergers and acquisitions work: you have access, like Microsoft did, to new markets and new technology. You guys remember when Google first started out? Now look at Google. Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Maps, Google Planet, Google this, Google everything. Where did Google get all that stuff? They bought it. They didn't develop it. They bought the technology and incorporated it in the Google name. They bought access to new markets and technologies. And now when companies acquire institutions and merge, they're allocating the risk to more people, spreading out the expenses, becoming more efficient. That's why we merge and acquire. Also, the value of the company goes up. You're worth more. Costs go down, value goes up. Your value of your operations increase. You guys don't have to know about these equations. But the key to mergers is to acquire businesses to reduce costs and increase value. Now, one of the reasons why I always tell my friends when they send me an email and say, hey, I'm all excited, our company's about ready to be acquired. I go, Tom, what part of the business are you in? Oh, I'm in sales and marketing. Watch out, because you're going to get a pink slip. Unless you're very valuable, they're going to cut you loose. Because why? Why do you need 2 marketing departments? Why do you need 2 sales departments when you merge with somebody else or acquire somebody else? Why do you need 2 accounting offices? People are going to lose their job. That's why it's called efficiency. They streamline their operations by merging, and they become more efficient, and they now own more assets, own more market, own more technology. That's why a lot of companies merge and acquire, because they grow, but they're more efficient. And I'm sure some of you have been involved in that, maybe with your own careers, companies acquiring or merging the institutions that you work for. There's a price to pay for that efficiency. Some people lose their job. One of the interesting things that are going to come out of this pandemic going into 2021 is because companies are going to see, hey, we can be more efficient using technology. Why do we need office space? Why do we have to pay huge rent or own buildings for our people when we can be just as efficient with them working from their homes or working at a smaller, more efficient, technology-driven area? You're going to see a lot of companies change their face, just like you're going to see all the universities and the University of Laverne that you're dealing with change its face over the next year or so. I know a lot of you won't like this, but even when the pandemic is over, we're going to have a lot more online programs than we do now. It's more efficient, especially if you have decent faculty who know what the hell they're doing. This can be a very lucrative. I can teach 100 students instead of just 25 in a classroom. I can teach 100. That's more efficiency and more revenue. Now, some students are going to fight that because I don't learn as much, and that's fine. I understand that. But if you have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing and teaching that course, that idea will quickly go away. And that's why you're going to see a lot of institutions change over the next 2 years. Because if they don't change, they're going to be adios amigos. It's going to happen in all industries that you work in. That's why you have to be up to speed. That's why, I know you're going to laugh at this, but that's why taking a course like this online, even though I know it's a pain in the neck, and I understand that, having the experience of working online is to your benefit down the road. Oh, you know what? I finished my MBA and about half my courses were online. Oh, really? Put that in your resume. People want to see that. Yeah, we're thinking about going into an online environment in our company. You have experience in that? Tell us, maybe you can be a manager. Maybe you can be a leader. Wow. So this is the way of the world. It's just like merging and acquiring. You're changing your efficiency. And this pandemic is going to radically change the efficiency of modern American corporations. Big time. You guys are going to be in part of that in your careers over the next few years. It's going to be part of your career. How you adapt, how the companies that you work for adapt to that. Important. Now let's take a look at one last thing. The Darth Vader of alternative capital structures. And that Darth Vader, is bankruptcy. Let's talk about that here. This is chapter 24, but you have a bankruptcy question on case number 4 that you're going to need to know some specifics before we head into this. Bankruptcy. It's another form of capital management. It's not very good. There's a lot of people that suffer, but it's a necessary evil for many companies. Bankruptcy. Here's a simple explanation of bankruptcy. If any of you have children, and I apologize if some of you have taken me in another finance class, you've heard this dopey explanation, but it makes sense. If any of you have children, one of the toughest things about having children is discipline. How tough should you be? Discipline. Well, one of the key aspects of my generation of disciplining kids was doing the timeout. All right, you're being mean to your sister, timeout. Go into the corner, sit there in the corner for 5 minutes and come out of the corner and tell me what you did wrong and we'll fix it. Okay, off he goes into the corner. 5 minutes later, okay, what did you do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. My sister is an idiot. I'm going to treat her that way. Nope, wrong answer. Back into the corner. Now you're going to spend a half hour in the corner, and now you cannot go out and play with your homeboys out in the driveway. Half hour later, he comes back. What did you do wrong? Yes, I was mean to my sister, but she's still a jerk, and I'm going to still be mean to her. No, that's the wrong answer too. Now, you're going back in the corner and your room for the rest of the evening. No play for you tonight. And tomorrow morning, I want you to tell me what you did wrong. Tomorrow morning, he comes in, he says, yes, I was mean to my sister. I should look out for her. I will never do that again. All is well. Now that seems like a simple type of discipline, but it worked for my generation because we were afraid to hit our kids because we were afraid we'd be arrested. But be that as it may, company bankruptcy is the exact same thing. I'm having financial trouble. My debts are now more than the value of my assets. I need help. I declare bankruptcy. I declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy. What does that mean? I get a timeout. Bankruptcy is a timeout. It allows you to withhold payments of debt, get control of your cash flow, and figure out what you did wrong. So if you go into bankruptcy court, you're given about six weeks to figure it out. You go back into the judge in 6 weeks, and the judge goes, okay, your timeout is over. What are you going to do to fix this? We didn't do anything wrong. It was our market that did stuff wrong. Our market screwed us. Excuse me, ladies. So we didn't do anything wrong. Bankruptcy judge goes, no, guys, that's not what I wanted to hear. I'm going to give you another 4 weeks as a timeout. And if you don't come back here in 4 weeks and give me a reasonable answer of how you're going to fix this, then I'm going to liquidate you in a Chapter 7. We'll just shut down the company. You're done. Uh-oh. 4 weeks go by, and they come back to bankruptcy court, and the judge says, okay, guys and gals, what are you going to do? Yes, it was our mistakes. We read the market wrong. We spent and borrowed too much money. We're going to sell off some of our assets, pay off some of the debt. Here's our restructuring plan. The bankruptcy judge says, amen, thank you. You are now out of bankruptcy, and you can go and begin raising capital again. Welcome to General Motors in 2008. Welcome to Chrysler Corporation in 2020. If you don't satisfy the bankruptcy court and restructure, you're going to be liquidated, and then everybody loses. That's bankruptcy. A lot of people don't like bankruptcy because it kind of gives you a second chance to screw up again and mess up with the investors and your creditors. Do you realize that our president, Donald Trump, has been bankrupt 4 times? Enough said. Okay. Bankruptcy is a form of restructuring because it's a timeout for management with the help of bankruptcy court to restructure their business. I'm giving you a problem in case number 4 with the financial information, and you as a financial student who already knows how to read financial statements is going to look at this company and decide whether bankruptcy is a prudent course of action. Is there something there to keep the company viable? Restructure. Or in your opinion, is it a dog with fleas? Why don't we just liquidate and pay off what we can and end this horror show? You're going to have a case in case number 4, a problem where you have to determine that. And the main reason I'm giving it to you is not so much that you can come up with a slick plan, but how you interpret the financial data that we've been looking at over and over throughout our class. Another way of looking at financial data to determine a course of strategies and action. Is there something in these numbers that tell you, yes, let's restructure, there's value, let's keep it going? Or no, this is a runaway train disaster, let's end it now. Okay, I want to see if you can do that. That's our case number 4. 3 examples of mergers, acquisitions, public offering of stock, going public, and bankruptcy. I want you to comment on those. There's some great material in Blackboard and YouTube with videos and explanations that can be the basis of your research. Look that up, it'll help you. I'm not looking for pages upon pages of writing. I'm looking for short, concise, there's a key word, concise interpretations and answers. Now don't be that concise, like 2 sentences. Be concise. If once you get done writing about a question, look at it and say, would Professor Hasse, would this fly with him? Am I answering the question, providing enough background and interpretation to warrant this answer? You should ask that of yourself. That's our final case. And again, it's practicing, interpretation, analysis, all skills you need with the electrics case. In different formats. Public offering of stock, mergers or acquisitions, and bankruptcy. Okay. We're going to talk more about bankruptcy next week and another topic, and also we'll talk more about the electrics case. And as we're now putting an end to our class for this evening, I urge you to begin your work on the electrics case. Begin to put together that checklist that I posted this evening, and I'll post it in Blackboard. Begin to come up with WAC and your base analysis. Then you can send me that analysis to I will not look at your scenario or sensitivities. My review of your work for you ends with the base case. But you can begin that. You got 2 weeks now. We're in the last 2 weeks of our class. So you got to think about that. Now, granted, we have a full off week next week. You can begin your case number 4 and get that out of the way this week and then concentrate. But try to have some work accomplished so when we have a review session, either in class next week or on August 8th, Saturday, you have some abilities to solve some of the mysteries that you're finding in some of this work. But also put on your thinking cap, you can do this. Remember, you're doing a capital budgeting analysis and interpretation of numbers that you have today and what those numbers will look like into the future, and then bringing them back to today for your interpretation. That's a key. All right, does anybody have any questions? You know, next week, be ready. When you come to class next week, at one time, I'm going to have everybody put on their camera. So make sure you shower next week before class. Make sure you comb your hair. You brush your teeth. What? Brush my teeth? Yes. I have the technology on my computer. I can smell your breath. I know what's going on. So I have that kind of technology. You don't think I do? Wendy, let's work on that. Chew some gum sometime, please. I can get away saying that to Wendy. She understands. So, Joseph, who's the young man on your lap, please?
That's my daughter,
Oh, what's her name?
Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn. How are you? Evelyn, NPV or IRR? What do you think? She's smart. I want no part of this.
There you
one.
go.
Let Dad worry about that.
That's right.
How old is Evelyn?
She's 1.5 years now.
A year and a half. Wow.
Yeah.
What a pretty girl.
Thank you.
Does Evelyn have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, he's right here.
What's his name?
There he is. Jacob.
Oh, have I met Jacob before? No, maybe I haven't. Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Hold on.
Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad. Are you helping Dad with his homework?
No.
No. Okay. Well, nice to meet you. Jacob, how old are you?
7.
7? Do you ever think about running a university? We could use you. That's a joke. Okay. Well, Jacob, are you nice to your sister? Are you nice to Evelyn?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Because we don't want to put you in the corner.
That's right.
All right. Nice meeting you, Jacob. Take care of your family for me.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. I'm
Thank
telling you, I could be a talk show host. I'm telling you. All right, everybody. Nice meeting your family, Joseph. They're very good looking
Thank you.
people. All right, everybody. Next week we turn on our Peter. You look tired. You've been up since 5 o'clock. You've got to get to bed now. All right, Peter. I'll be probably seeing you on Wednesday, buddy. Right? Attaboy. All right. Thanks, everybody. I've recorded this. I'll post it tomorrow morning. Have a great week. Be well. Enjoy your studies, and I'll talk to you next week. Adios.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor, this is Paulina. I had a question.
Yes, Paulina.
Okay, so I had a question in regards to the case study number 3.
Yes, ma'am.
And how, okay, so I was going based off of your calculation on finding the PI, profit index, profitability index, and I got 1.19.
So you took the NPV, how did you determine that? My profitability index was the net present value in relationship to the investment.
Okay, yeah. What threw me off, I was going based off of your week 6 spreadsheet, completed worksheet that you had attached on Blackboard, where you basically did the DCF divided by net cash flow.
Okay, that's fine. If you did it that way, Paulina, that's okay. Don't worry about that. That's fine.
Okay, and then also, in regards, I just had one more question. In regards to I know you're gonna post this. I don't remember all the numbers that on the sensitivity, but I had everything correct on the base analysis, but for some reason I think my sensitivity numbers were different than yours that you posted.
Well, again, remember you just change one number at a time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I did that. I changed it and then multiplied it by, the percentage.
Yeah.
Like for instance, for the deviation for the SP unit, for the negative 30%, I got 1,672,860.
Did you,
So
what were you using as your WAC? What was your WAC percentage?
5.95.
Okay. Well, if you're off just that much, it's probably in the rounding somewhere in your calculation. So I wouldn't worry about that. If you're not exactly right, Paulina, don't worry, because I know some of us have rounding issues with our software and don't worry about that. If you're that close, then you got it right.
Yeah, because I just, for that example, I just did the sales price per unit, the 35 multiplied by 0.70, which would be the 30% decrease.
Okay, watch. I'm going to do it here on the screen in front of you.
Okay.
If I take $35 times 0.7, my number ends up being 1,672,860.
Oh yeah, that's what I got.
Hey, how about that?
But why is it on your chart? It was different, right?
Because I used a table here. I didn't go one at a time. I kind of used a table format where it all. So that's why. So don't worry about that. See, so you're exactly right. See how that works?
Okay. I was getting concerned. Okay.
No, you're fine, Paulina. You did good.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Take
See
care.
ya. Bye-bye. Week 8. Adios.